British writer and researcher Chris Spivey first hit the headlines as a feature writer for the Sovereign Independent newspaper. He's a tattoo artist by trade and a body piercer, and runs the massively popular www.chrisspivey.co.uk website, where he examines the world around us in his own unique style, with particular emphasis on Britain, the British political classes, the British royal family, and the web that they tend to weave globally. He has much to say on a variety of topics, many of which we're going to touch today on the show. Chris Spivey, you're very welcome to Alchemy Radio. How are you?
Not too bad, John. Not too bad at all. You know, we could all complain, couldn't we? But we don't like to, and no one wants to hear it anyway. So, yeah, not too bad. All right.
Good to hear it. I'm really good, yeah. We have a rare sunny day here in Ireland. I'd say it's one of the last we'll have for probably the next 6 months. So hopefully...
Well, it's overcast. You must have got yesterday's, John, because it was that hot over here. I thought I was going to melt, but it's all overcast here at the moment. So I think that was the last day of the summer sort of thing.
Let's start from the beginning, I suppose. Tell us a little bit about how you've got to the stage in your life that you're at now.
Well, where did I start? Well, I'm a tattoo artist by trade, and I suppose really like most people, what really caught my eye was 9/11. That didn't add up, did it? And you know, you sort of do a little bit of research and whatnot, and that leads you on to another direction, and before you know it, you're sort of immersed. And so then I started writing for the Sovereign Independent. I don't know, are you Southern Ireland or Northern Ireland, John?
Southern Ireland based, but very familiar with the Sovereign Independent here too.
Okay. Yep. I started writing a few articles for them, and then someone picked up on what I was writing about and whatnot, and there was a bit of a computer-minded kind of chap and set me a website up. And then, you know, sort of write for like 30, 40 people a day, sort of, and then an activist contacted me from that. I can't remember where she lived, but she was doing a lot of work over in Japan on the Fukushima,
right?
I think over there, and this led to a Japanese doctor contacting me about how bad things was over there, and so this was sort of like early last year, and that sort of caught a bit of interest, and then David Icke picked up on a few things that I was doing, and he put a couple of my articles on his site, and once sort of David endorses you, you know, you sort of get a multitude of people all of a sudden, and it sort of went from there. So I'm getting sort of like around about 500,000 visitors a month now, so I must be doing something right.
Well, yeah, that's a huge number. And the type of stuff you're writing about, Chris, is so varied and so broad. I mean, is there an area of special interest for you, or something that's close to your heart, if that's the right term to use? Or is it literally that very early on you saw the bigger picture and were able to connect the dots? Well,
I've always been... well, let's rephrase that. I read somewhere that you know, these kids who are sort of passed off as being naughty and hopeless cases and whatnot, and thick and do you know how I mean, troublesome.
Yeah.
Half of the time, or most of the time, they're it's not that they're thick or it's that they're bored, and they're bored because they don't buy into the bullshit. Now, when I look back at it, when I was at school and whatnot, and I had no interest in school whatsoever, I didn't like the being forced to learn. I don't think anybody, if someone's not interested in something, they're not going to learn, no matter how much you sort of drum it into their heads.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I sort of learn and whatnot is what I learned myself after leaving school. Do you know? And these kids that they sort of brand as hopeless cases and troublemakers and whatnot, they are the people who are more readily accepting of what the majority of the world won't accept, i.e. we've all been sold a lie.
Yeah.
Do you know? So I've always been kind of not anti-authority, but these people who say they're acting in your best interests, I never thought they was, you know, and it turns out that I was 100% right about that. And when I started getting into it, say post 9/11, it all made perfect sense to me. It makes a lot more sense than the so-called real world, John, do you know?
It really does. And I suppose post 9/11 then for you, it must have been like a huge shock to the system to discover that things weren't what they seemed. Or was it the case that it was, suddenly things make sense for me, and it kind of moved organically from there for you?
The latter, John, most definitely the latter. I say when I first found out how the money system works and whatnot, and about fractional reserve banking and all that, you know, it wasn't a great. Oh my God, you know, I know it's a bingo. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, and I say because I've always had this nagging sort of I don't know how you'd explain it really. Just a feeling that things wasn't right. You know, that nothing was right. Nothing sort of made sense. And I say I started getting into it, and all of a sudden everything made sense, John. You know. Yeah. And now. I get not frustrated. I get annoyed with people, shall I say, because they can't see what is being done to them, and the danger that they put people like myself in by failing to realise what to me is blatantly fucking obvious. Do you know?
And how do you approach that on a daily basis? Because I would imagine you're surrounded by family, friends, and people who think that, what Chris is doing is maybe a little bit crazy. It's certainly out there. It's not within our paradigm. And people quite often reject that. And cognitive dissonance is a big thing and a big source of frustration for those people who are moving along this path of authenticity. So how do you deal with those frustrations? Because there must be many, Chris.
Well, my family is quite well to do, John. My dad was an accountant and whatnot. You know, I can't say that we ever struggled or anything like that. You know, when we was kids, we was living in a shoebox in the middle of the road, kind of thing. That never happened to me. You know, was always relatively well off. So my parents are totally brainwashed, you know. Okay. They love the Queen and whatnot and that. And recently, I've just been to Blackpool to speak at the Rebellion Festival, and I had my brother drive me up there. And it's quite a drive, and until that point, my mother and father hadn't. They knew that I was writing, but they didn't really realise what I was writing about. Okay. And when they found out about it, they wasn't best pleased, you know. But we're not what you call a close family anyway. But before that, you know, I tried to talk to my dad, and every time I sort of talk to my dad, I can be around my mum and dad for like 15 minutes, and it'll just dissolve into an argument, you know. So in the end, I don't bother. Other people, well, even before I was writing for the Sovereign Independent, I was quite open about my views, shall we say. And if you're sure of your subject, John, when someone tries to refute what you say, you can make mincemeat of them. Yeah. And this happened a couple of times, sort of on Facebook and whatnot. And after that, no one would challenge me, sort of thing. Do you know? I mean, I've always had a fair number of followers because my Facebook was originally set up not so much for socialising, more for my business as a tattooist, you know, to show my work off and whatnot. Sure. So there's always been a fair number of people on there anyway, and for one reason or another, people who are a little wary of tattooists, I think, anyway. So, you know, I never really got much, shall we say, dissent anyway, do you know? Right, fair enough. And to be honest, I mean, I know some people suffer terribly from trolling and whatnot, you know, and to the point of like they jack it in, you know. I don't get any of that.
Well, that's got to be a good thing, and I think sometimes when there is more than just a seed of truth in what people are talking about, yes, there will be dissenters, but the vast majority of people tend to stay silent if they're positive about a subject, in my experience. So you might get one or two voices on any given day, month, year, or whatever it is, who are dissenting, but there tends to be multiples of that who are actually reading what you're doing, and the figures you have at the moment are testament to that, who are giving their stamp of approval, albeit tacitly or silently, to the work that you're doing.
They are. Either that was the security services monitoring me, John, one or the other. They seem to take great interest in what I do. Yeah, the thing with trolls, I say, because when I write, I don't ask people to just take my word for it. Everything is sourced. And what I try and do, I try and source everything from the MSN, you know?
Yeah.
Because people put a great store, you know, if it's in the news, then it must be true, no matter how much bullshit they're talking, you know? Mm. Now, to take something out of the MSN and sort of turn it around is not always easy, because how the MSN work is like that they stick to one thing and keep it at that. But when you put 2 or 3 MSN articles together, they tell a whole different story to what just the one article does, you know? And so what I do, I tend to source everything from the MSN, so because people put store by it, but use 3 or 4 articles on the same subject all at once, which then sort of gives a different picture, you know? So when people do troll me, what I tend to get is you're a mad boy, you don't know what you're fucking talking about, like, but they won't tell me why I don't know what I'm talking about, do you know?
Yes.
If someone's calls me a bastard or a wanker or whatever, that's fine. It's water off the duck's back to me, mate. I've been called a lot worse. If they're half polite, I will talk to them, and I've said to take this Woolwich, this the soldier that was supposedly beheaded, but he wasn't. Now that is quite a difficult subject to write about, in so much that I'm calling a dead person or a dead person's family liars, do you know?
Yeah.
And so that can sort of outrage a lot of people, shall we say. So I just say to them, I say, well, look, you know, you've got my article there, read my article, then refute what I say, offering, you know, counter evidence to prove that what I'm saying is lies, like, you know, wrong. And not one person has ever come back to me to refute what I say on Boston or the Woolwich incident, which I've obviously written extensively about. You know, so I say, if someone just calls me a fucking old wanker and I don't know what I'm talking about, the comments don't even make it through moderation anyway. But if someone's got a valid point and calls me a wanker, it will get published. But apart from that, I say I don't get any real problem with trolls at all, John.
Good stuff. And now you've mentioned a couple of things there, Woolwich and Boston being 2 of them. Let's talk about Britain in a broader sense, because it's not a topic that we've touched on in any great detail on this show today. We speak quite a lot in global terms and about the US and stuff, and quite often about Ireland as well. But Britain is a good place to start, I think, for us. So what is the state of Britain as you see it right now? And let's tie Woolwich into this. For those who aren't familiar with Woolwich, it's the recent incident. It happened during the summer whereby a soldier was beheaded, and we can use our inverted commas wherever we want to use them. But let's kind of touch on that, Chris.
Well, if we talk about Woolwich, okay, we talk about. I mean, straight away, John, I knew it wasn't kosher, shall we say, because now normally I sleep in the day because I tend to write at the night time when it's quieter or whatnot, you know, and I can get more done. But on the 22nd, it was the 22nd, wasn't it, when it happened? 22nd of May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was thinking like Boston was the 15th of March, and Woolwich was the 22nd of May. Yeah. I had to wake up quite early in the afternoon on the day of Woolwich. So you know, I tuned into my Facebook, and there was all these posts about, you know, rest in peace to poor soldier and whatnot, and why do we accept these people, you know? And I thought, what the fuck is this all about? Like, so I looked into it, and so the news was still at that time. What was coming through from the news was that two terrorists had sort of attacked and shot three people. Do you know, that was the way that I interpreted it at this time. I say it was very early on.
Yeah.
Or should I say, two Muslim terrorists had attacked and shot these two people. And then it obviously changed to the three, but included the two Muslim terrorists in inverted commas who were shot, and this soldier who they beheaded. And we had Theresa May heading this calling this meeting of Cobra, who up until that point no one had ever heard of, and Cobra sort of saying sounds impressive, kind of sinister, important, David Cameron, who was over in France, he was cutting his trip short. Ed Miliband, the shadow prime minister, he was cutting his German trip short. Boris Johnson was heading off to this meeting with Theresa May, and they didn't even know he was a fucking soldier. They had a rough idea that he was a soldier, but he couldn't possibly have been identified at that time. I mean, just because, I don't know, I suppose soldiers wear these dog tags, don't they? But just because a person's got someone's dog tags on it, still doesn't make it that person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So straight away I thought that was irresponsible of the government to be sort of saying, like, this soldier, when they couldn't possibly know it was a soldier, and the MOD hadn't even concurred that he was a soldier. So that sort of straight away alerted my my suspicions, shall we say. And as things became clearer, it became this soldier had been beheaded. And we was getting pictures sort of flashback, and I'm looking for a fucking head.
Yeah.
And I can't see a head, and you see the body in the road, and you sort of got his hood pulled up and that, and you can't see no blood, and you're thinking, and then you see the car crash, and you think, well, how could this be a terrorist attack? Surely, these two fellas have attacked this fella. He must have owed them money, or been messing around with one of their women or something. Not a terrorist, certainly not a terrorist attack. And say at the time the video hadn't been released and whatnot, and we got all this. The Queen's been. I thought, what the fuck's the Queen being informed for? Like, do you know, she informed of every murder that goes on in the country. And as the details began to unfold, Facebook took on a very sinister quality. And I was reading some of the most disgusting comments that I've ever read in my life, like, kill the fucking black bastards, kill the packet. There was one on Twitter, one woman who said we should go into their schools and blind their children. Now, John, for a woman to say that, I'd have been outraged if a man had said it, but for a woman to say go into their schools and blind their children, and what the fuck is that? And some of these comments were from people that I've known 10, 20, 30 years, and I was so incensed by them that I wrote a status saying, what the fuck is the matter with you fucking lot? Do you know what I mean? You're being mugged off here. It's plain to see you're being fucking mugged off, and you're turning on people who have done nothing,
Yeah.
And I was very, very critical, and I don't know how he got started, but it ended up with 900 Muslims adding me.
Right.
Now, every one of these Muslims, and anyone who knows of my work will know that I tend to be a bit sarcastic, and I swear a lot and whatnot. But every one of these Muslims that added me said, hello, thanks for the ad, which is a lot more than, shall we say, Westerners do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got people on my Facebook that add me, and I still haven't spoken to them, and they've been on there 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
Everyone said hello. Everyone thanked me for what I'd said. Some of the women was very, very flirty. None of them said about, you write sort of good articles, but you want to stop that swearing. And they did just normal people like me and you,
Of course, yeah.
John. You know, they got the same hopes and fears for their children and whatnot. You know, the same money worries, the same as everyone else. Yet they're being victimised, shall we say, by the MSN and our government, who called this irresponsible act a terrorist act. Now, as far as I'm aware, the two fellas who were responsible haven't even been charged under the Terrorism Act.
That in itself is extremely interesting.
It is, yeah. You know, especially, I say, after all the hype. Anyway, it turns out this soldier wasn't beheaded. But now the MSN, I knew that by the 23rd. The MSN would have known that at least by the 23rd. But on the 24th, the MSN or certain papers from the MSN were still reporting this Lee Rigby as being beheaded, which is straight away it breaks the press regulations, you know. Now I'm having a documentary made about myself and the mum. Someone's making a documentary about me and my work with Woolwich. And the plan was that we was going to go into a police station up in London, up in Woolwich, and report, because I have evidence, clear evidence, video evidence of 2 counts of either a police officer, a plainclothes police officer, or a member of the security services destroying evidence of a crime scene which carries 7 years. Now, this is indisputable evidence, John. You know, it's not just my interpretation of it. It is indisputable, and I'll tell you why in a little while. But you know, this was the sort of plan to do this, and on top of that, I was going to make a complaint to the press complaints about particularly the Daily Mail, who was still reporting on the 24th that Lee Rigby had been beheaded, when they must have known at the very, very latest, the morning of the 23rd, that he hadn't been beheaded, because I knew then. So there could only be one reason that they was sort of reporting this soldier as being beheaded on the 24th, and that was to cause racial discrimination, you know, incite racial hatred. That is the only possible reason for them to be reporting Lee Rigby has been beheaded, which he certainly wasn't. Now, the same can be said about the government by calling it a terrorist act before they could possibly know that, pointing out he was a soldier before they could possibly know that, and the only reason they could have been doing this was to incite racial hatred. Now, you'll also notice that a lot of people have put videos on YouTube, and a lot of people have written about the incident, calling it, you know, a false flag and whatnot, and been very, very critical. The only people who have been pulled up are a bunch of Muslim students who made a YouTube documentary refuting it and saying it was a government false flag. So I say, you know, I mean, why haven't I had my arse dragged into court over it? You know, because I've been more vocal than probably anyone on the subject, you know. Yet they leave me alone, and on the other hand, I say you've got these Muslim students being dragged into court for making this video, just refuting the official version, you know. So straight away you got because they're Muslims, and as we know, the government want you to think Muslims are bad. Why do they want you to think Muslims are bad? Well, you've only got to look at Syria to realise, and Iran and whatnot, to know why they want you to think that Muslims are bad. I mean, the Daily Mail was doing some disgusting little tactics there. They had pictures of these people giving floral tributes to the police to put in this area for Lee Rigby, you know, and they had a Sikh giving over some flowers to a photograph of a Sikh giving over some flowers to a policeman, and the caption on the photo was a Sikh hands over some flowers to a policeman. Now, anyone who knows anything can tell who a Sikh is just by a photograph.
Yeah.
you know, for those who don't know, and why don't you know, a Sikh wears a turban, whereas a Muslim doesn't.
Yeah.
But the only reason the only possible reason for them to put a Sikh hands over a floral tribute was to make the difference known to people who might otherwise have sort of banded the two groups together, do you know? So the message being, Sikhs are good, Muslims are bad. And I say, it's little tricks like this that people don't pick up on, but it still registers in their brains, do you know? And I think it was absolutely disgusting. For instance, I had one fella, and I felt so sorry for the young fella. He was only 17, he was at college, and he said, "Hello, Chris, thanks for having me," and all that. He says, I'm at college and I'm thinking of giving it up. He said, everyone's looking at me like they want to rip my fucking head off. Now, we're the best will in the world. It's not this young kid's fault that even if they was extremist terrorists, which they wasn't, even if they was, it's not the other fucking, I think with something like 2 million Muslims in this country. It's not their fucking fault. They didn't do the act, you know, and they've come out. The Muslim communities, community leaders have come out and condemned this action. Yet still, you get these everybody wanting to kill these Muslims and blind their children and what fucking not, you know, kick them out and all that. And it's all because of the MSN manipulation and the government agenda to keep us divided. Muslims are bad. They want to rape our young girls and steal our jobs, and they hate us, and they hate our flag and all we stand for, and they come over here and take the fucking piss and all that. And people believe it, John. Do you know what I mean? They believe it, and that annoys me fucking greatly, mate. They're so stupid. They think they're so switched on and so smart and so savvy, and they know fuck all about fuck all. Do you know? I just want to shake these people. I can't even get angry at the government or the papers for spouting this shit, you know? I blame the public for being so fucking gullible and so close-minded and naive and so quick to hate. They're the ones, you know. The government will only get away with what we allow them to get away with.
Yes.
At the moment, we're allowing them to get away with murder, mate. And the fact that people can't see what is blatantly obvious to me, it just sickens me. In fact, I've put 3 articles on the site this morning. If anyone wants to have a look, www.chrisspivey.co.uk. All 3 are based on MSN articles, and I tell them the fucking bits, to be honest with you, mate. And because the bullshit and hypocrisy and downright lies is blatant. And I think, why can't people see? Why can't I can see it? You know, I don't make myself over anything special. Do you know? I'm just you know an average Joe. All right, I can write a bit, and I have a certain style that appeals to not everyone, but a certain kind of person, do you know?
Yeah.
And but apart from that, I'm just like anybody else, do you know? I'm not overly brainy. I don't spend my time watching the X Factor on TV and whatnot. I spend my time reading and researching and writing, but I wouldn't call myself you know, someone super special who I mean, people say to me, "Oh, you're so clever, you're so clever. I wish I knew what you knew, and I don't know how you know all this." And it's fucking easy. You sit, you turn your telly off, you find something you're interested in, and you start reading, and it's as simple as that. And anybody could do it. So I say, I can only judge people by my standards, and I don't find myself anything special. So if I can see this bullshit and see through this tissue of lies, and it's blatant. I mean, it's not even obscure, John. It's blatant, you know. And if I can see it, I don't see why everybody else can't see it, and that fucking annoys me.
Yeah, that's a huge source of frustration for me also, because so much of it that previously, for example, a false flag attack or whatever, has previously been hidden and so covert. The powers that be are those who are perpetrating these heinous acts. They're not even making a half-hearted attempt to hide what's going on anymore, because they're so confident and, I suppose, so egotistical, are blind to the fact that people have thinking brains, but they're also safe in the knowledge that so many people are distracted by whatever they're distracted by. So be it a complete obsession with sport or fashion, beauty, celebrity culture, X Factor, whatever it might be, people are so... Their lives and the information that they now choose to access freely. And I don't buy the excuse that we can only access what's given to us. So if X Factor is on the TV, I'm going to watch X Factor, because there's a little thing called the internet and people are free to choose whatever they want for the moment on that to a large degree. So I think when people say that the X Factor, it's a bit of light entertainment, fine, it's a bit of light entertainment. I've no truck with anybody who decides to watch the X Factor for an hour a week. However,
everything in moderation, John, isn't it? Do you know?
Exactly.
Just don't let it go over your life.
Exactly. I mean, I'm somebody who likes football. But it doesn't consume my life, and my mood isn't affected for a week by how my favourite team does or whatever it might be, you know. And as you say, everything in moderation, but so many people, for whatever reason, and I think it's because they're bombarded with the sales pitch from birth at this stage, they just don't see it that way, and they have to consume, and all they're consuming is that's readily disposable and easy to access, that's pushed into their faces and down their throats by the mainstream media and whatnot. And I think it's very difficult for somebody like you or me who are, let's say, a little bit more versed in what's going on outside of that paradigm, to relate then to people who won't accept it or who don't want to know the information, and they'll point blank refuse it and attack it without having any kind of evidence for or being able to back up their own argument. That's a tough one to take.
This happened to me quite recently, actually, on my Facebook. Now, I have, like I've just said, I have evidence of 2 crimes being committed at Woolwich that carry 7-year prison sentences each, and I am so confident in the evidence that I have of these 2 crimes that I'm prepared to walk into a London police station and report the crimes. Okay, now the evidence is indisputable, John. It is absolutely because it's on video. The worst thing that the Daily Mirror ever did was, or the government, I suppose the government agreed that the Daily Mirror could release the video of the shooting, because to someone like me who's a little bit eagle-eyed and whatnot, and who won't just sort of watch it and concentrate on the main action, concentrate on what's going on in the background, is the worst thing that they could have ever done, because of this Daily Mirror video, which in turn has led me to be able to reference off the other videos. I have, I say, indisputable evidence. Now this is on all on my site. Now a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, I had this young lady who's been on my site for a long time. She originally added me because of tattoos, and someone posted something on my wall about Lee Rigby, and I commented on it, answered it, and she commented on my comment saying, like, I think you're so disrespectful and rude, Chris, you know. And fair enough, that's, everyone is entitled to their opinion. So I said, why do you think that? So she said, you think the government are responsible for everything that's bad in the world. You think the government is responsible for? I said, that's more or less right. Yeah, you're probably right there. She said, but you're being disrespectful to Lee's family, to the British Army, and whatnot. So I said, well, I don't know how you can say that. I said, I think they're being disrespectful to me by expecting me to believe this fairy tale. I said, tell me what you don't agree with in what I've written. She said, I haven't read it. So I said, well, how the fuck, if you haven't read it, how can you say it's shit? Do you know? So I said, go away, Nick, have a little read of it, then come back to me and call me a cunt.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to read it. Do you know? So if people point blank refuse to read what is going to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that the Woolwich, in the case of Woolwich, was indisputably carried out by members of the security services. If they point blank refuse to go and look at the evidence, what can you do? But this is the mindset that we're up against. If I get a sudden influx on the site of readers from somewhere, you know, I don't know if you know, but on when you've got a website, you can tell where your traffic's coming from.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll go and investigate if I have a large number come from one site. Quite often they're forums, and one of my articles has been put up. And this was in the case of the Boston bombing, an article I'd done on that. And I looked at these comments on this forum, and I won't say I wasn't offended. I'll say unbelievable, because people were saying, you know, this man's a madman talking about me, you know, and they're saying, you know, why do we let people like this walk about and that? You know, obviously off his head and whatnot. Probably a drug addict. Oh, no, he's probably a 17-year-old kid who sits in his bedroom making these things up. Do you know? And I'm thinking, fucking hell, you got clear photograph evidence of a false flag. Do you know? Like you just said, they don't even fucking try anymore on these false flags. They're so badly put together. They're easy to take apart, and I don't know whether people just don't read what I've written or what others have written, or whether they just can't take the information in. I did read somewhere that we have an inbuilt kind of safety valve in our heads, you know, built into our brains and what our genetic makeup that won't allow you to go out of your comfort zone. You know, if something's too horrific to face, then your brain just simply rejects it. This isn't, you know, just Joe Bloggs making. This is doctors and whatnot who say about this kind of mechanism. He even has a name, but I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. Now, to me, that sounds like bollocks, bullshit. Because if someone says to me something and they show me something to prove it, I'm going to believe that. And I can't understand why other people can't do the same. I say because I can only take people by my own marks, you know. I am the benchmark for everybody else. I don't expect everybody to be as clever as me, but I don't expect that I'm as clever as everybody else, you know. Yeah. So I take myself as a benchmark. So if someone says to me, yeah, our government's killed, in the case of 9/11, 3,000 whatever, although it wasn't that amount, it was nowhere near that amount, but you know, if someone says to me the government's did it and this is how the government did it, I'm not going to be so horrified that I can't accept it, you know. But there are people who you can put any amount of evidence you like in front of them and they are not going to believe it. They just, I don't want to know, you're talking shit. Why am I? Because you're talking shit, you know. And well, I can't understand it, but apparently it is a real condition that this kicks in, and it won't let you believe what you would be too horrified to believe, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, when like you asked me the question earlier, you know, when I realised that things were far from what they should be, you know, how I reacted, and I say, I just thought, well, yeah, it made perfect sense to me, but I can't understand, you know, even if something's so horrific that you've got to face it, and by realising that your government will kill you, you know, at the drop of a hat. Which I don't find particularly horrifying. It makes perfect sense to me. But you know, you've then got to face everything that you took for granted, and say this condition doesn't allow you to, but I can't understand it myself. I say because I'm open to anything, you know. Something you hear something. I have quite a good bullshit meter, really, John.
Yeah.
I have the ability to look at things and straight away know whether I'm being sold a crock of shit or whatnot, you know. And so if someone tells me something and they show me something, and I'm either going to believe it or I'm not going to believe it. But if they show me something that goes even against everything that I believe in, I'm not going to be so horrified that I don't want to accept that, you know. I'm going to accept that and act on that information accordingly, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of it's down to a flexible mindset. I think when people are so rigidly steadfast in their beliefs and they attach themselves to the beliefs, which quite often aren't their own, they're those peddled by the mainstream media and whatever media outlets that they access their information from. I think it's very difficult for them then to break free from that, and anything that they perceive as a potential threat, the alarm bells go off and they reject outright without ever examining the actual information.
I just can't understand that, you know. It must be right because obviously the majority of the world won't accept the what is obvious. But I can't get my head around it because it doesn't happen to me, you know.
Yeah.
No matter how horrifying something is, I can still accept it as truth, you know, if the proof is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't matter what, you know. I can accept that we're being poisoned via our water supply. I can accept that we're being sprayed, you know, from aeroplanes. I can accept that, you know, we're being fed foods that's going to give us cancer. I can accept that our politicians are robbing us blind. I can accept that the royal family are all paedophiles. I can accept that the majority of the 650 MPs in Parliament are all paedophiles. Do you know, the paedophilia is what holds the glue that holds them together. I can accept that because it makes sense.
Well, let's talk, Chris, for a second about paedophilia. It's not a topic that people necessarily want to touch on a lot. It's ignored, it's brushed under the carpet, but there is a lot of information starting, even through the mainstream media, the little bits and pieces that are coming out lately about people in the public eye. I mean, I look at that and you see celebrity A, B, C or D or Jimmy Savile, whoever it might be, being mentioned all the time. To me, there seems to be a kind of a smoke screen. It has to go deeper than that. And we look at, say, the Marc Dutroux case in Belgium and what's going on in Scotland with people like Holly Greig, and there's a lot going on that we're not hearing about. You've done extensive research into this. Let's talk about it for a little second, as uncomfortable as it may be for some people.
Yeah, but the truth often is uncomfortable, John, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it's no good like pretending that it doesn't exist or burying your head in the sand or saying, no, I don't believe it, you know, I don't want to believe it. No, that's no good. That's not going to change anything.
I agree.
You've got to confront these subjects, and yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it does make for unpleasant reading, but you know, I did a major article, a very successful article, called Parliamentary Paedophiles, which was an in-depth investigation into our politicians, past and present, who are paedophiles. And I put some photographs to accompany this article, and they was photographs of young boys who were tied up, fully clothed and whatnot, but the obvious implication was there. Now, these wasn't mock photos, these were real photos, you know. And instead of being horrified by the information that I was giving out and the proof to back up this information, people were saying, how can you put photos like that on there? You know, that we don't need to see that. We don't. Well, I beg to differ. You do fucking need to see it, mate, because if you candy coat everything, then nothing is ever going to change. You need to see the hard fucking facts. You need to see that these little boys and whatnot are tied up before being raped. Then, you know, then they spend the hours when they're not being raped tied up and whatnot. And you need to accept that there's fucking government officials who are fucking doing this. You know, and there's like 150, between 100 and 150,000 children go missing alone in this country. A lot of them are found. A lot of them aren't. Now, they must go somewhere, and if they're not here, they must be dead. Do you know? And this is what these people are doing. I mean, Edward Heath and Torius taking kids out of children's homes and whatnot. Some of them from from Ireland. You know, taking them out on the yacht, and they never returned. You know, but people won't believe it. They don't want to believe it. Yet the evidence is there. You just need to scratch the surface, and you very quickly realise that paedophilia and Satanism is what holds these people together. It's the glue, it's the dirty secret that holds them together. And the people behind these people, the true power, because our politicians are just they're puppets, they're front men. I mean, people really think that David Cameron runs the country or whatnot. Well, David Cameron's just a fucking actor. He has people, you know, sorting things out, writing his speeches, telling him what to say, and they have a very, very easy job, which they get paid very, very well for. Just to read their lines. I mean, you don't think that George Osborne sits there fucking working out the fucking finances. They have civil servants to do it for them, you know. He just provides the final number. And this is why politicians have so much spare time. I mean, take Boris Johnson when he was the MP for Henley. He was the editor of Spectator magazine. And, you know, so how can you be a fucking editor and a politician at the same time? Well, I say the simple answer is that they're just there to give the final numbers and to clarify for people. So they're just actors. That's all they are. Now they're put into this position, you know, these high-powered positions, because they're earmarked very early on with things like, in America, the Skull and Bones, Secret Society, Harvard, and the Bullingdon Boys Diners Club at Eton, you know, which Cameron and Boris Johnson and whatnot all went through. And at these places, things happen. Sex acts happen, and then they're later blackmailed. And in the case of William Hague and Gordon Brown, and there's evidence for David Cameron, their wives are arranged for them, and what the wives are there for is to give, not just to give them the air of respectability, to keep them in line, do you know. Very often they'll be lesbians themselves. Now, someone could say, William Hayes gay, but he's married. He got married to Fionn to give him an air of respectability. Why would he need the air of respectability? Being homosexual these days is not out of the ordinary at all, you know, and it's not taboo like it used to be in the 40s and 50s and whatnot, you know. They couldn't be openly gay. Now they can be openly gay, but they hide it. Why do they hide it, you know? Because it's not just homosexuality. They're fucking about with kids and everything. And I say, you've only got to scratch the evidence, and the proof is there. You know, but say to people, go on my site, have a read of the articles. If you're a skeptic, all I would ask you to do is just read it with an open mind, and then refute it. Don't go into it and read it thinking this is going to be bollocks, this is going to be bullshit. Do you know what I mean? This is going to be the advantage of a madman. Just read it with an open mind and then comment. I say because the evidence is overwhelming, totally overwhelming. Now, how can you have a paedophile running the country? Do you know, if you had a paedophile live next door to you, you'd kick his fucking ass every time he stepped out the door. Yet we have paedophiles running the country. We have paedophiles infiltrated, big Hollywood stars who are paedophiles. You know, taking the case of Michael Jackson. No one wanted to believe that Michael Jackson was a paedophile. Everyone was still loving him and whatnot. just because of who he was, because of his celebrity. And this is the power of celebrity, and this is what people have to get over. Do you know? I say, because if Michael Jackson had just been Mickey Jackson next door, exact same person, just not famous, he'd have had his head kicked in every time for what he'd done, and his refusal not to sleep with kids just because people didn't like it or didn't agree with it. Do you know? He'd have had his fucking head kicked in every time he left the door. Because he's Michael Jackson, they was worshipping him. Now, I named Rolf Harris last October, and I'd heard for a long, long time, I'd been hearing about Rolf Harris. I have a large following from New Zealand and Australia. And I'd been hearing all these stories about Rolf Harris anyway.
Yeah.
I named Rolf Harris in October on Facebook because someone asked me, and I didn't say Rolf Harris. I made it obvious who it was, shall we say. He was arrested in November, but his name wasn't released, you know. Once again, I said it was Rolf Harris. Or he wasn't arrested in November, that's a lie. He was questioned in November.
Right.
But his name wasn't given, but I named him. And I got an awful lot of stick for that because he's Rolf Harris, and everyone loves Rolf Harris. He's, you know, the nice fellow with a beard who does the didgeridoo bit, and can you tell what it is yet, and all that bollocks, you know. And people were saying he could be there as a witness, you know, even if it is Rolf Harris, and we don't believe it's Rolf Harris, but even if he was, he could be there as a witness. And I was saying, well, you know, if you're being, there's two ways you can be questioned. There's only one way you question as a witness, and it wasn't the way that Rolf Harris was being questioned. So then when he was named, and which kind of, I said, I fucking told you so, it was like, well, you're innocent until you're proven guilty in this country, you know. And I think, well, what do you have to do to, you know, before you start accepting this? If it wasn't Rolf Harris, he'd have been getting his head kicked in long before, do you know? You take the Muslim now, all Muslims are fucking extremist terrorists, you know, who want to rape our 14-year-old girls, torture our 14-year-old girls, take our jobs and whatnot. Where's the fucking evidence? And they're quite gladly joining with that, but you tell them that Rolf Harris is a paedophile, they're not having it. Okay? So, then when he was charged, it was still, well, he's innocent till proven guilty. Now, he did a concert after he'd been charged, although it wasn't, he'd been charged, but he hadn't been charged in relation to children. He'd been charged in relation to being a sex pest, you know, a hand on the backside, a hand on the tit kind of grown women, you know?
Yeah.
And I was still going on about it, but he did this fucking concert, and there was people clapping and cheering him in support and whatnot, you know, and I mean, what the fucking hell's the matter with you? What, do you have to actually fucking see him do the act before you'll start? Even if you're slightly sceptical, you know, think something must be fucking wrong here. Why would the police be bringing this? You know, he's Rolf Harris, for fuck's sake. Why would the police be arresting him after this time? You know, and charging him with something? He's Rolf Harris. But no, they're not. They're cheering him. Saying, "Oh, he's fucking innocent. Oh, Rolf, we love you." I hope they'll feel like a right bunch of cunts for doing that now. He's been charged with child sex offences. Now, I knew this. I knew that. I first mentioned it in October last year, but I knew this long before, and I could accept it. Now, I like Rolf Harris. Well, I like Rolf Harris the same as anybody else. You know, he's painting. I brought my daughter up since she was 6 months old, and she had on her face when she was young, which required us to go to Great Ormond Street Hospital at once every 2 weeks, you know. And the Great Ormond Street Hospital, there's these paintings, these big fucking paintings by Rolf Harris, you know, the cartoon paintings and all that, which he's donated, all signed by, must be worth fucking thousands and thousands of pounds. And I'm you know, explaining to my daughter, she got a little bit older, who Rolf Harris was and all that, and I like Rolf Harris the same as the next man. But when I heard that he was a fucking sex pest, I didn't think, no, he's not. No, he's not. And, you know, I read what I was being told, and these were people like, you know, who used to work for the big studios in Australia and whatnot, who was telling me. And at this stage, there wasn't children being men. You know, it was just no makeup artists would go near him on their own and whatnot, because he'd have his hands all over them, you know. And I could accept it straight away, you know. And the more you think about it, then the more it rings true. And I say, when you're getting sort of unconnected reports coming in, you don't think, well, no, these people are talking bullshit, you know, and they're all fucking off their heads. They're all like tin hat wearers, you know, seeing things. They've got it in for him or whatnot. As you get more different sources telling you these things, you know, unconnected sources, you don't sort of give the benefit of the doubt. You think, well, all these people can't be fucking lying.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They have credible stories. It's Rolf Harris who's fucking lying, and there you are. Now, what's the connection? Well, Rolf Harris, very well in with the Queen. How many people do you know who gets paint the Queen? Not fucking many. Rolf Harris does. That means he's very well in there. I mean, he's not known for his portraits and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's known, you know, for his cartoons and his big decorators brush, and can you tell what it is here? Do you know? So I had no trouble, but people won't accept it because it's this cult of celebrity. I say, anyone else, if it'd been Rolf Harris next door, never been on TV on his life, well, he's got a fucking beard. I knew there was something wrong with that cunt, you know. But because he's Rolf Harris telestar, no, he's innocent. He's innocent. All these people are fucking lying. They've all got it in for him, do you know? And I can't understand. I cannot understand that at all, John. And this is what annoys me so much. I say I can't get annoyed with the politicians for being paedophiles. I can't get annoyed with the politicians for ripping us off left, right, and centre, and being fucking greedy bastards. You know, we pay their TV fucking licences to have their gardens done. We even pay for their fucking porn if they can get away with it. Do you know? And well, there's people in this country can't afford to feed their children. Do you know? And these cunts are living in their fucking second houses, paying their TV licence and taking the fucking. I can't get annoyed with them. I get annoyed with the people, John, because it is so blatantly obvious that, well, like you said, they don't even try to hide it no more. They make no bones about it. I mean, we had William Hague in the paper the other fucking day talking about his £200 bottles of fucking wine that he's choosing, like, and billing us for and all that. And well, he deserves it. He's a politician. He works hard. Does he fuck work hard? Do you know what I mean? And I say, so I can't get annoyed with the politicians or the royal family or even the cult of celebrity, you know, Rolf Harris. I get annoyed with the people because the people just need a good fucking kick in there. They need a good real dose of reality, but they just won't accept it. They prefer. I mean, what am I trying to? I'm not in this for fame and fortune. I started writing. I put these long statuses on Facebook, and then I got a chance to write for the Sovereign Independent, and I didn't go into it thinking, I'm going to be as well known. I never had a fucking clue that I would be where I am today. Do you know what I mean? I was as surprised as anybody.
Yeah.
Asked for my website to be set up. That was set up for me from somebody who'd read my stuff and thought that, like, you know, I ought to write just for myself, write my own sort of column sort of thing. And in them early couple of months, and, you know, 30 or 40 people. I never ever dreamed I'd be here now. So I'm not doing it for the fame. As for the fortune, John, I don't get paid for what I do. Yeah, I've had to let my relatively successful tattoo business go because I don't have enough hours in the day to sort of keep up with a website, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe that what I'm doing on the website is far more important than putting pretty pictures on people's skin. So I'm doing it because this people need to know, and also for self-preservation, because me and you know where this is heading, John, and I would imagine that the majority of your listeners know where all this is heading.
Yeah.
But there's the vast majority don't know where this is heading, and they have to be educated, because if they want to walk to the left, that's fucking, and that's fair enough. But they're taking me with them, and they're taking my family with them, and I've just got my young man, he's over here, just sort of waking up. 3 months old, and I've got his future to think about, and I. People, I say, they're so fucking stupid. They annoy me. I love my kids. If anyone ever touched my fucking kids, I'll fucking kill them. I love them. I'd do anything for them. They think like loving your kids is making sure they got the fucking latest iPhone or a flat screen telly in the bedroom or whatnot. Never mind that you got fucking paedophiles running the country and there's fucking kids going missing left, right, and centre. And we're all heading into debt slavery. And a police state, and a lot of us aren't going to be around to even fucking see it because they're killing us. They take no fucking notice. What are you on about, you daft cunt? Do you know what I mean? And this mentality has to be changed, and this is why I do this day. I have no social life. I'm just every waking hour is writing. Now I'm writing for a lot of people. So everything that I write has to be right, because there's people read my stuff and they love to pounce, and people love to pounce, and you make the slightest mistake and they're fucking on you. I'm terrible with names, John. I've got a terrible memory for names. I'm all right because I've got you're John in the head, but if I thought you was Dave, even if I see John Gibbons in front of me, I'd still be calling you Dave.
Yeah.
Because, do you know what I mean? So when I write things like... when I was writing that Parliamentary Paedophiles, I had Tom Watson in my head as Watkins. Now, I knew it wasn't Watkins, but it was in my head as Watkins.
Yeah.
So now and then I'd put like Tom Watkins, I had a very public row with Tom Watkins on Twitter, by the way, and tried to mug me off, made himself feel like a right twat. But, and then people are, he's not Watkins, he can't even get the fucking name right. Never mind that the information is there. So I have to be very, very careful of everything that I put down that people are going to read, because people are waiting to pounce. And that means everything has to be spot on and double checked and whatnot. And I say that no one can take what I put in their pieces, because I spent hours and hours and hours researching it, And I say, I never dreamed that I'd be where I am today. That there's no money in it. I don't get paid, or I get donations. I still tattoo every now and again to stop myself from going under. But I could certainly have a lot fucking easier life tattooing, and very comfortable life, less hours. And no aggravation, and still be told that I'm fucking great. Do you know what I mean? People think, oh, you're only in it because you want people to tell you. Well, the amount of people, I get a lot more people calling me a cunt than I get calling me fucking great, mate. I can tell you that. But it's important, John. It is. I really believe it's important, because I say not only for the sake of other children and whatnot in the country. I've got my own family who I care about and whatnot. And for that, I'm willing to risk everything to try and get the truth out there. That's why you can call me a cunt as much as you fucking like, mate. You can call me a mad cunt as much as you fucking like. Read my fucking work and still call me a mad cunt, but don't dispute the facts.
So with regard to your work, it's more than a labour of love for you. It's about necessity. It's about the information that you think needs to get out there and does for... Well, not just for your family, but for the public at large, and in a broader sense, humanity at large. What's the end game? You mentioned that there are a lot of people out there who don't know where this is heading. So let's tell any new listeners who might not be wide to a lot of what's going on. Where is this heading, do you think, Chris?
Straight away, I'd tell them to Google the Georgia Guidestones, because it tells you the agenda there. And the agenda is that... to different various statistics get bandied about, but it's reckoned that somewhere between 80 and 95% of the world's population has to go, just so we can, the other 20 to 5% can be slaves. These elites. Now, 1% of the world's population own. Once again, statistics vary, but somewhere around 80% of the world, just 1%, which is absolutely disgusting, because I don't believe that anybody owns anything as such in terms of land. I was having this conversation the other day with someone when we were talking about the amount of land that the Queen owns. Well, who fucking sold it to her for it to own? Do you know what I mean? It's the planet Earth. It's all our planet. It's not their fucking planet. It's all our planets, you know, and we all have the right to live the way we see fit, as long as we're not within common law. Now, anyone who doesn't know what common law is obviously needs to research it. But the end game is that somewhere between 80 and 95% of us are going to have to go. And they're achieving this very nicely via, say, fluoridation of water, cancer. In 1900, the cancer rate was 1 in 100. We're down to about one in every 2.5 people now are affected by cancer.
Yeah.
You know, chemtrails, genetically modified foods and whatnot. War's always a good way to get rid of people, and a money maker as well. And this is the end game, and they're after taking every single piece of property or every possession that you own and putting you into slavery. I mean, we're already slaves as such, John, as you know, to a certain extent, and we've given our freedom away, which I find disgusting. Now, I've never held with the notion that, you know, the terrorists are everywhere and that. And I did an article on this the other day. The official figure is the chances of you being killed by a terrorist in a terrorist attack are 1 in 20 million. You have like something like 5,500 times more likely to be killed by a policeman than you are by a terrorist. Now that says it all. Yeah, the only budget that's been increased is the security budget. Now we're spending something like £4 billion a year on security. Do you know, for this 1 in 20 million chance, you got to put that in perspective. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but you got something like 1 in 600 chance of being killed as a passenger in a car, or no, even less than that. I mean, 1 in 60, something like that, of being killed as a in the car. But now we're spending £4 billion on car research, you know, and whatnot. Yet we have this 1 in 20 million chance of being killed by a terrorist bomb, because terrorists don't exist. The only terrorists are in government. That's where the terrorists are. And we're spending billions and billions of pounds, and we're giving away our freedom. And people can't see they're giving away their freedom on fucking lies. Now, as we know, what all the new anti-terrorist laws that come in after 9/11 and over here at 7/7, they're not about men in bomber jackets. They're about people like me and you. You know, the people who are trying to tell the truth and who are vilified for trying to tell the truth. You know, I'm the good guy, but I'm portrayed as a black hat. You know, a fucking nutter, out to cause trouble. You know, and it wouldn't matter who was in government, I'd still be anti this and anti that, and that's not fucking true at all. Yeah. I'm a good guy, portrayed as the bad guy. Now, how that came about, I really don't fucking know. It's mental, but that's not so much what bothers me. So what bothers me is that people are giving away their freedoms and whatnot, and they're having all these terrorist laws brought in, and it's not about men in bomber jackets or bombs strapped around their waist. It's about people like me and you, the so-called homeland terrorists. So at a time when it's needed, we can be pulled in and held indefinitely without trial, without anybody knowing where we are. The chances are that won't happen to me. I'm very, very closely monitored by the by the security services, and to the extent I don't even use a mobile phone anymore. And I've been told long enough now that I'm going to get bumped off, and I don't doubt it for a minute, John. But that doesn't bother me. That doesn't scare me at all. I mean, I'm getting on a bit now anyway, and I have no social life because I'm on a computer all the fucking time. But you know, I'm prepared for that. For if I can get the word out and I can get people listening and people to see what is happening. And I've now attained that position. I say with my website and whatnot, I never dreamed that I would be this well known and have the support that I have. And in a way, the support keeps me a little bit safe, you know?
Yeah.
In fact, I imagine the government are quite worried about my heart, because if I have a heart attack now, I'll become a conspiracy theory myself. So that keeps me a little bit safe, but I'm prepared for whatever is going to happen, and it doesn't bother me. It bothers me that people don't listen when I'm doing it for what I believe the right reasons. Do you know, I'm not doing it for fame and fortune, because if I was doing that, I'd be a lot better tattooing, a lot better off tattooing. You know, I never had the money problems that I have now, and the big bags under my eyes, where lack of sleep and whatnot, and the people just waiting to stab you in the back, you know, for the least little mistake. You know, fame really isn't cracked up what it's cracked up to be, John. And I say, but I keep going because it's right. It's the right thing to do. I'm doing it. I say slightly selfish because of my daughter and my young grandson, you know, but I'm also because I do care about people. Not so much. I mean, I've got no sympathy with a lot of people taking people on my benchmark, but I realise there's people who aren't as clever as what I am, or who are struggling and fail to understand things, and who are being victimised and picked on. And I hate bullies, John. Do you know? I fucking hate bullies.
Yeah.
And I do it for these people as well. Do you know? And as I say, so anyone who thinks I'm in this for the fucking the fame, you got to be fucking joking, mate. You got to be joking.
And do you think, Chris, that people, since I suppose you became aware of what was going on over the last 10, 15 years, do you think that there is a kind of a shift in consciousness towards the truth, or do you think people have become more entrenched in their beliefs, or is there a big split occurring? Is there kind of a schism? What way do you look at that?
It's very, very hard to say, isn't it? Because obviously, you know, I'm mainly writing for people who have already been converted. As I say, saying that people listening to us now will you know, instantly know what we're talking about and that because they're there. So when you, that kind of person, that mindset sort of drifts to us anyway, do you know? So it's really hard to say. If there is any shift in consciousness, it's not happening quick enough, because the agenda is speeding up a vital rate. I mean, just last week we was fucking days away from being blown off the face of the fucking earth, John. Do you know?
Yeah.
People have taken a step back since the Cameron thing. Now, I did write about this as well, because I see a lot of people sort of slapping each other on the back, you know, saying people power done that. I don't believe for a minute that people power done that. You know, there's a lot of political reasons why Cameron didn't get the vote he wanted.
Yeah.
But I don't. People power certainly wasn't one of them, because they just don't give a fuck. They don't take into consideration what we say. They don't give a fuck about what we think and whatnot. So they're not even careful in their false flags. And so I don't know about shift, but certainly it's not happening quick enough. And even the people who think they're awake, a lot of them really aren't.
Give us the website again, Chris, before we tie things up, so that people can check it out.
www.chrisspivey.co.uk. And just going back on that a little bit, John. Do you know, you say it's all evidence source and whatnot. I get people on a regular basis calling me a thug. Well, I'm a tattooist, so obviously I've got a lot of tattoos. But I get called, you know, a right-wing thug. I'm a homophobe. I'm a racist. Do you know? And people will call me exactly the opposite of what I am.
Yeah.
Is provably what I am, and you think, well, do you know, how can I be called a racist when I put my neck on the line for you know, after the Woolwich, and I was calling people cunts who I've known been friends with for 30 years from school, do you know, and doing it because they was writing these disgusting things about Muslims and well, not even Muslims really, just the inverted commas packies, you know.
Yeah.
I had 900 Muslim people add me on the strength of just that one status, you know. So for anyone to call me racist, they haven't even read the first few fucking lines. Similarly, when I was in a shop, working in the shop there, I had the Southend-on-Sea. I had a big customer base among the gay people. Now, if I was homophobic, do you know that they would have picked up on that straight away?
Yeah.
So me homophobic is ridiculous, but it's all done to discredit. All I ask people is just have an open mind, read it, and then criticise me. Don't just critic, because there's too much emphasis put on a person, how a person looks, or how a person talks, or what a person, the religion a person believes in, or what sex they sleep with. You know, that people have got to get over these things and realise it's what's inside that's important. You know, and all I ask is go on my site, read my articles. Don't come to me and say, well, yeah, it's good, but you swear too much, because I don't, you know, there's thousands of people on the internet writing about the same things as me, and probably some even more talented writers than what I am, but they're mediocre. I work to a certain audience. I mean, if you take the mainstream media, the Sun won't be targeting the Times audience, do you know?
Yeah.
And we all have our target audience, and what I do works. So go on my site. There's a lot of swear words on there, but don't say to me you swear too much, because I've heard that all before and I don't even entertain that crap. Just look at the information. The information is what is important. How it's written, I use swear word obviously for emphasis, because it's easy to emphasise. If you call someone a cunt, you know exactly that you don't like him, rather than saying I don't like that bloke very much, which has no impact whatsoever. It's the information that is important. Read the information and then criticise me. And that's all I ask.
I couldn't agree more. The information is key. I have the power. You have the power. We have the power. Chris Spivey, it's been great talking to you on Alchemy Radio. Keep up the work that you're doing, and we will no doubt check in with you again in the future. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, John.
Alchemy Radio.